The night was cold, and the streets of the alien market were darker than usual. David, a lone human traveler, walked carefully, keeping his coat close around him. The glowing signs of strange shops flickered, their alien letters shining in colors he could not fully understand. He had been here before, but tonight the market felt different. It felt dangerous. The air was heavy with smoke from burning oils, and shadows stretched across the broken stone paths. Strange voices whispered from corners, but David kept moving. He had learned one thing while living on alien worlds: never show fear. Still, something in the silence of this night made his heart beat faster. Then he heard it. A scream. It was high-pitched, filled with terror, and it cut through the air like a blade. David froze. The sound came from a narrow alley just ahead. For a second he wanted to ignore it. Trouble in this city was not his business. But then the scream came again, smaller and weaker. It was the voice of a child. Without thinking, David rushed forward. The alley was dark, lit only by a single broken lantern. There he saw 3 alien thugs, tall with ridged skin and cruel glowing eyes. They surrounded a small figure, a little alien girl. Her eyes were wide, and she clutched a small cloth doll to her chest as the thugs laughed. One of them grabbed her arm. "Your kind owes us. You will pay with blood." The girl cried out again. David did not stop to plan. His body moved on its own. He charged forward, fists tight. The first thug did not even see him coming. David's fist smashed into the alien's jaw, sending him stumbling back. The other 2 turned in shock. "Human?" one shouted. David knew he had made a mistake. Humans were not welcome here, not in this part of the city. But he could not stop now. The girl's eyes, full of fear, were begging for someone to help. The second thug swung a blade. David dodged but felt the sharp edge cut across his arm. Warm blood spilled down, but he fought on. He grabbed a broken pipe from the ground and swung it with all his strength. The metal cracked against the alien's ribs, dropping him. The third thug roared in anger and lunged. David tried to block, but the alien's claws ripped into his side. Pain exploded through him. He gasped, but still he did not stop. With one last desperate strike, he drove the pipe into the thug's chest, forcing him back. His vision blurred. Blood was pouring from his wounds. He knew he could not last much longer. "Run!" David shouted at the girl. The little alien hesitated, clutching her doll, then she ran as fast as her small legs could carry her. The sound of her footsteps faded into the night. David staggered, dropping the pipe. His knees weakened. The world around him tilted. He could taste iron in his mouth. The thugs lay groaning on the ground, but he was no better off. Through the haze of pain, David saw movement. A figure stepped into the alley. It was a woman, an alien woman, tall and graceful, her skin glowing faintly under the broken light. Her eyes, bright silver, locked onto him. She carried herself with strength, but her face showed something else: shock. She rushed past him and dropped to her knees beside the little girl who had returned and was now clinging to her legs. The girl's voice was trembling. "Mother, he saved me. The human, he bled for me." David's body swayed. His strength was gone. He fell against the wall, sliding down until he sat in the dirt. His breathing was heavy, each inhale sharp with pain. The woman turned to him slowly. Her eyes were unreadable, part anger, part sorrow, part something else he could not name. "Why?" she whispered, almost to herself. "Why would a human do this?" David tried to answer, but his voice cracked. "Because—" No one else did. Darkness began to close in around him. His vision blurred until only the silver light of the alien woman's eyes remained. The last thing he heard before everything went black was the girl's small voice, trembling yet filled with awe. "He bled for me, Mother. He bled for me." David woke to the sound of dripping water. His body felt heavy, his chest burning with every breath. Slowly his eyes opened. He was not in the alley anymore. He lay on a soft bed made of woven fibers, the smell of herbs thick in the air. Strange glowing symbols moved across the walls like soft light. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. Then the pain in his side reminded him this was real. He tried to sit up, but a sharp sting made him groan. "Do not move," a calm voice said. He turned his head. The alien woman from the alley stood nearby. Her silver eyes were fixed on him, cold yet filled with something deeper. Beside her, the little girl sat clutching her doll tightly. David blinked. The girl. "She safe?" "She is safe," the woman replied, her voice sharp. "Safe because of you, but also in danger because of you." David frowned, confused. I don't understand. The woman stepped closer. She wore robes of dark green, marked with lines that looked like scars across the fabric. Her face was beautiful but hard, carved by years of pain. My name is Solari, she said. This is my daughter, Lyra. You saved her life. For that I owe you a debt. But debts between our kinds are dangerous. David tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. I couldn't. Just stand by. Solari's silver eyes narrowed. Humans never help us, never. They look at us as shadows, as filth. Why did you? David thought for a moment, then gave a weak smile. Because she's just a child. Children deserve to be safe, no matter where they're from. For the first time, Solari's eyes flickered with doubt. She looked at Lyra, who stared at David with wide admiration. The girl crawled closer, placing her small hand on his arm. You bled for me, she whispered softly. You are family now. Solari froze. The word family carried weight in her culture. Outsiders were never family. They were threats. Yet her daughter said it without hesitation. Outside, the sound of heavy boots echoed in the distance. Solari's eyes hardened again. You cannot leave this house, she said sharply. The enforcers are searching. They know a human fought in the lower market. If they find you here, they will kill you, and they will punish us for sheltering you. David's head spun. He never thought saving a child would bring such danger. So what now? He asked quietly. Solari turned away, pacing the room. Her long fingers tightened around the edge of a table. She had seen too much loss already. Her people hunted, starved, pushed into the shadows. To protect her daughter, she had sworn never to trust an outsider. And now here was a bleeding human lying in her home, making her question everything. Now, she said slowly, I must decide whether to hide you or deliver you to them. David's breath caught. Deliver me? Solari faced him, her eyes cold once more. If I hand you over, they will leave us alone. My daughter will be safe. But if I keep you, they will come. They will destroy everything I have left. The room grew silent. Lyra clung tighter to David's arm. No, mother, the girl cried. He is good. He saved me. We cannot give him to them, please. Solari's jaw tightened. She looked at her daughter, then back at the bleeding man. Her heart twisted. She hated humans. She had sworn never to forgive them. Yet this one had thrown away his life for her child without asking anything in return. She turned away, unable to look at either of them. From outside, the sound of enforcers grew louder. Voices barked orders. Heavy weapons clattered against stone. They were close now, searching house by house. David struggled to sit up. His face was pale, his body weak, but his eyes were steady. Don't risk your family for me. If you must, hand me over. Solari spun toward him, her anger breaking through. Do you think my daughter will forgive me if I do that? Do you think I will forgive myself? Her hands trembled, something she had not felt in years. The boots outside stopped. There was a sharp knock on the door. Open! By order of the council, open this door! A voice shouted. Lyra whimpered, hiding behind her mother. Solari's heart pounded. She looked at the human, weak and bleeding, lying in her bed. She looked at her daughter, terrified but refusing to let go of him. Her choice had to be made. She pulled David's arm over her shoulder and lifted him with surprising strength. Come, she whispered fiercely. We cannot let them find you. She pushed open a hidden panel in the wall. A tunnel of stone stretched into darkness. As the door shook with another knock, Solari whispered, You bled for my daughter. Now I will bleed to keep you alive. The three of them slipped into the shadows just as the front door shattered open. The tunnel was narrow and damp, lit only by faint crystals that glowed along the walls. Solari half-carried, half-dragged David through the dark passage, her daughter Lyra hurrying close behind with wide, frightened eyes. Every step echoed, and every echo felt like a warning that the enforcers were only a breath away. David's vision blurred. The world swayed around him. His wounds burned with every movement, yet he bit his tongue to stop himself from crying out. He knew if he slowed them down, they would all be caught. Finally, the tunnel opened into a hidden chamber beneath the city. Old stone pillars rose around them, carved with symbols long forgotten. Here the air was cooler, almost still. Solari lowered David onto a pile of worn blankets. Stay here, she whispered. They won't search this deep. David looked up at her, his lips pale. You didn't have to bring me. Her silver eyes narrowed, sharp as a blade. You are foolish. Do you think my daughter could sleep, knowing the man who saved her was taken away to be tortured? Do you think I could live with that? Lyra crawled close to him, clutching her doll. You're safe now, she said softly. Mother will protect you just like you protected me. David forced a weak smile. That makes us even. Solari stood a short distance away, arms crossed, watching him carefully. She wanted to hate him. She wanted to remind herself that humans were not to be trusted, that his kindness was a trap, that it could only bring ruin. But the memory of him standing in blood, fighting three-armed thugs with nothing but a pipe, haunted her. He had bled for her daughter. That truth gnawed at her walls of mistrust. Hours passed. The sound of boots above faded, but the silence below was heavy. David dozed in and out of sleep, the pain dragging him into darkness, then pulling him back into sharp breaths. Solari ground herbs into a paste and pressed them to his wounds. "Does it hurt?" she asked flatly. David winced but chuckled weakly. "Only when I breathe," Solari almost smiled, almost. But she turned away before he could see. Lyra, however, stayed close. She told him little stories in her simple alien tongue, mixing words she thought he would understand. She showed him her doll, the only thing she owned, and pressed it into his hand. "She's called Nira," the girl whispered. "She was my protector before. Now you are. So I give her to you." David felt a lump in his throat. He had no words. He gently placed the doll back in her hands. "Keep her," he whispered. "You'll need her still." The bond between them grew quietly in the shadows of the chamber. David saw Lyra not as an alien child, but simply as a child, innocent, bright, undeserving of cruelty. Lyra saw him not as a human, but as a shield, someone who stood between her and the world's sharp edges. Solari noticed, and it frightened her. That night, when Lyra finally slept curled up beside David, Solari stepped away into a corner of the chamber. Her hands shook as she pressed them against the cold stone. "What are you doing, Solari?" she whispered to herself. "This is madness. One human cannot change centuries of hate," but deep in her chest something stirred. A voice she had buried long ago whispered back, "And yet, he bled for your child." Suddenly a noise echoed from the tunnel. Solari's head snapped up. She moved silently to the passage entrance, listening. Faint voices. The enforcers were still searching, and now they were closer than she thought. She hurried back to David, shaking him awake. His eyes opened, tired but alert. "They're coming," she said quickly. "If they find us here, we're all finished." David tried to push himself up, but pain locked his body. "Then leave me. Take Lyra and run." Solari's face hardened, but her eyes flashed with fire. "You think I would abandon the man who gave blood for my daughter? No, if they come, we fight together." Lyra stirred in her sleep, sensing the fear in the air. She opened her eyes and saw David struggling to sit. Her small hands helped him, as if she could carry all his weight herself. Outside, the footsteps grew louder. A harsh light spilled into the tunnel mouth. Voices barked orders. "They are near," Solari whispered. "Too near." David's hand gripped the pipe lying beside him, though his arm trembled with weakness. He looked at Solari, then at Lyra. "If they find us, don't let them take her. Promise me." Solari's throat tightened. For the first time in years, she felt fear not just for her child, but for someone else, for the human who should have been her enemy. She met his eyes. "I promise." The tunnel suddenly shook with the sound of boots and weapons clattering against stone. Solari grabbed Lyra, holding her close. David raised the pipe in shaking hands, ready to stand though his legs barely obeyed him. The hidden chamber, once silent, now burned with tension, and as the shadows of the enforcers spilled into the chamber, Solari whispered to herself, "This bond, it will either save us all or destroy us." The chamber trembled with the sound of boots. The glow of search lamps spilled into the hidden tunnel. Solari pressed Lyra against her chest, her heart pounding. David, pale and weak, forced himself to sit straighter, gripping the broken pipe like it was a sword. His face showed pain, but his eyes were steady. The voices of the enforcers echoed closer. "Check every chamber. The human is near. The council wants him alive." Solari's breath caught. They were not just hunting him. They wanted to use him. A captured human would mean power, proof of dominance, and if they discovered she had sheltered him, her family would be destroyed. For a moment, her old self whispered, "Hand him over. Save your daughter. Save yourself." Her eyes flicked to David. He looked half dead already. It would be easy to step aside, let them take him. Lyra would never have to run again. But then she remembered that alley. She remembered the way he had thrown himself into the fight, the way he bled so that her daughter could live. No hesitation, no selfishness, just raw courage. Lyra tugged her arm, her little voice trembling. "Mother, don't let them take him, please." Solari's heart twisted. This was the moment. She had to choose. The boots drew closer, their shadows stretching long into the chamber. Solari's jaw tightened. Her decision burned inside her chest. She knelt beside David, pressing her hand against his shoulder. "Listen to me," she whispered sharply. "You saved my child. Now I will save you, but if you trust me, you must obey me without question." David's lips parted in confusion. "What are you going to do?" Solari stood tall, her silver eyes blazing.
"Something I should have done long ago, defy them." She moved quickly, pulling a heavy panel aside.
Behind it was another passage, one even darker than the first. Few knew of it, an old escape route carved before the council's rule. "Take Lyra and go," she ordered, thrusting her daughter into David's arms. "Follow the tunnel until the air smells of salt. You will reach the river. Hide there." David struggled to rise, the weight of the girl heavy in his weak arms. "What about you?" "I will stay," Solari said firmly. "I will mislead them." "Buy you time," Lyra cried out, clutching her mother's robes. "No, mother. Come with us." Solari knelt, stroking her daughter's hair with trembling fingers. Her voice cracked for the first time. "My star, sometimes a mother must stand alone so her child may live." The pounding of boots thundered closer. The first enforcer's shadow appeared at the tunnel's mouth. David's throat tightened. He shook his head. "I can't leave you." "I won't," Solari's eyes flashed. "You are in no condition to fight, human. You think bleeding once makes you a warrior? If you stay, you doom us all." Her voice softened, almost breaking. "Go, protect my daughter. That is all I ask." David stared at her. Despite the pain, despite the fear, he saw the fire in her eyes. She was ready to face death if it meant her child would live. He wanted to argue, but Lyra's tears soaked his shirt. The choice was already made. With a heavy heart, he nodded. "I'll protect her. With my life." Solari touched his cheek quickly, almost like a blessing, before shoving him toward the hidden passage. "Go!" The wall slid shut behind them just as the enforcers stormed into the chamber. Torches blazed, blades gleamed. A squad of armored figures spread out, scanning the room. The leader stepped forward, his voice cold. "Where is the human?" Solari stood alone in the center of the chamber, her posture tall, her eyes burning silver. "There is no human here," she said calmly. The enforcer's gaze hardened. "Do not lie to us."
"He was seen with your daughter."
"Hand him over or we will tear this place apart." Solari's lips curved into a dangerous smile. For years she had bowed her head, swallowed her rage, kept silent. But tonight something inside her had changed. "You think me weak?" she said softly. "You think I fear you?" Her voice rose, echoing against the stone. "But I will never betray the one who bled for my child." Gasps spread through the squad. The leader's eyes narrowed in fury. "Then you have chosen your fate." Blades lifted. The chamber filled with the sound of weapons ready to strike. Solari raised her hands, her body trembling not with fear but with defiance. "So be it." Meanwhile, far down the hidden passage, David staggered through the darkness, Lyra clinging tightly to him. He heard distant echoes, the clash of voices, the roar of soldiers. His chest burned with guilt. Solari was facing them alone, but her last words rang in his ears. "Protect my daughter." He gritted his teeth, forcing his body forward, step by painful step. He could not fail her now. Back in the chamber, the enforcers circled Solari like wolves. She stood unarmed, outnumbered, but her spirit burned brighter than their torches. For the first time in years, she was not just a mother hiding in the shadows. She was a mother standing in defiance. And as the soldiers closed in, she whispered to herself, "If he bled for my daughter, then I will bleed for them both." The hidden tunnel twisted and turned. David's breath came in sharp bursts, every step sending pain through his wounds. His arms trembled as he carried Lyra, but he would not let her go. Her small hands clung to his shirt, her eyes wide with fear. "Is mother coming?" she whispered. David swallowed hard. His throat was dry. "She'll find us. Somehow." But inside, doubt ate at him. He could still hear faint echoes of shouting. Behind them, the clash of boots and voices as Solari faced the enforcers alone. Every step forward felt like betrayal. The tunnel finally opened into a damp cavern. The smell of salt water drifted in, and David realized they were near the river Solari had spoken of. Strange, glowing moss lit the cavern walls, casting eerie shadows. David set Lyra down gently. His body shook with exhaustion. He leaned against the stone, clutching his side. Blood still seeped through his bandages. The little girl knelt beside him. "You're hurt again," she whispered. David forced a weak smile. "Just a scratch." Lyra's eyes welled with tears. "You bled for me once. Don't bleed again." Her words cut into him. He had fought without thinking in the alley, but now he realized the truth. He was only a man, weak and broken, and yet a child's life, and maybe more, rested on his shoulders. He looked at her, trembling but brave. "Listen to me, Lyra. If they come here, I'll stop them. I won't let them take you." Her small voice cracked. "But you'll die." David shook his head slowly. "If it means you live, it's worth it." The words hung heavy in the air. Back in the chamber, Solari stood surrounded by armored enforcers. Blades glimmered under the torchlight. The leader sneered. "You protect a human, Solari? You betray your own people?" Solari's voice was steady, though her hands trembled. "I protect my daughter, and the one who saved her. Call that betrayal if you wish." The leader raised his weapon. "Then your blood will pay the price." The soldiers moved in. Solari's silver eyes flashed. She had no blade, but she fought like a storm. She struck with her fists, using speed over strength, driving one soldier into a wall. She seized another's weapon and turned it on him. For every strike she landed, pain lanced through her body, but she did not stop. "You will not touch them," she roared. Her defiance stunned the squad. No one had seen Solari fight in years, but rage alone could not win. Soon, a soldier's strike caught her across the ribs. She fell to one knee, blood dripping. The leader pressed his blade to her throat. "The human will not escape, and neither will you." Solari spat blood but smiled coldly. "Then hunt him, but know this. He will bleed for my daughter again, and I will bleed for him. That is our oath." The leader's face twisted in anger. "Then you all die." Meanwhile, in the cavern, David tried to stay awake. His body begged for rest, but the thought of Solari alone kept his heart pounding. He knew what she was doing. She was buying him time. But how much time? He clenched his fists. "I can't hide Lyra. If I stay here while she fights alone, I'll never forgive myself." Lyra shook her head wildly. "No. Mother told you to run. She told you to protect me." David's voice cracked. "Protecting you means protecting her, too. If she falls, they'll never stop hunting us." His body screamed in protest as he rose to his feet. The cavern spun around him, but his will burned bright. He gripped the broken pipe tightly, though his hands shook. Lyra stared at him in silence, then whispered, "You'll die." David knelt, placing a hand on her shoulder. "If I do, remember this. I didn't bleed because I wanted to be a hero. I bled because no one else would, and sometimes that's enough." Tears rolled down her cheeks. She pressed her doll into his hands. "Then take her, for luck." David hesitated, then nodded. He tucked the doll into his coat. "For luck." He turned back toward the tunnel, ready to go where death waited. But before he could take another step, shadows filled the cavern. The enforcers had split their search. A squad of armored soldiers now stood at the mouth of the cave, blades raised. "There he is," one shouted. "The human." David's chest tightened. He lifted the pipe, forcing his body to stand tall. Behind him, Lyra screamed in terror. The soldiers charged. David braced himself. "This ends now," he whispered. "Back." In the chamber, Solari's ears caught faint echoes from the tunnels, shouting the sound of blades, the cry of her daughter. Her heart froze. "No," she whispered. She shoved the leader back with sudden strength and bolted toward the sound. Rage and fear gave her new speed. "If he dies there, if my daughter dies there, then my choice has destroyed everything." The oath she had spoken burned in her chest. He bled for her. I will not let him bleed alone. The cavern shook with the sound of armored boots. Torches lit the shadows as enforcers poured in, their glowing blades raised high. David stood in front of Lyra, gripping the broken pipe with both hands. His body was weak, his wounds still bleeding, but his eyes burned with determination. Behind him, Lyra clutched her doll and pressed her back against the stone wall. Her small voice trembled. "Don't let them take me." David's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. "They'll have to go through me first." The first enforcer lunged. David swung the pipe with all the strength left in him. The metal clanged against armored plates, sparks flying. Pain shot through his arms, but he forced himself forward, pushing the soldier back. Another came from the side, blade cutting across his shoulder. He gasped in pain but refused to fall. He struck again, the pipe slamming into the enemy's helmet. The soldier staggered, stunned, but more came. Too many. David's legs trembled, and his vision blurred. He knew he could not last, yet he planted his feet firmly. "If I die here, it will be standing between her and them." "Enough," the leader of the squad shouted. "Take the child. Leave the human to bleed out." Two soldiers broke off and charged toward Lyra. "No," David roared. He threw himself forward, slamming into them with desperate strength. He blocked their path, swinging wildly, each strike born of fury rather than skill. The soldiers stumbled back, surprised at the ferocity of a dying man. Then, just as his knees buckled, a silver light flashed in the cavern. Solari. She burst into the fight like a storm, her silver eyes blazing with rage. She moved faster than the soldiers could track, striking with fists and blades she tore from their hands. One fell, then another, their armor cracking under her fury. "Mother!" Lyra cried out, her voice breaking with relief. Solari's heart surged at the sound. She fought harder, every blow carrying the force of a mother's love and a warrior's wrath. She spun beside David, cutting down an enforcer who had raised his blade to strike him. "You should not have stayed," she hissed at him between blows. David coughed, blood staining his lips. "And leave you? Never." For a moment, their eyes locked. Silver met human brown. In that glance was something unspoken, trust, respect, and something deeper neither dared name. The soldiers regrouped, circling them. The leader barked orders. "Crush them both. Take the child alive." Solari pulled Lyra behind her and pressed her back against David's. Together they stood in the center of the cavern, surrounded. "Stay close," she whispered. David gave a faint grin. "Already am." The enforcers rushed as one. The cavern exploded into chaos. Blades clashed, sparks flew. Solari moved like lightning, striking with precision. David swung his pipe with desperate power, blocking blows meant for her. His body screamed in agony, but he refused to fall. One soldier broke past them, reaching for Lyra. She screamed, clutching her doll tight. Before the soldier could grab her, David hurled himself forward, driving the pipe into the alien's chest. The soldier fell and David collapsed to his knees, gasping. Solari pulled him up, fury burning in her voice. "Don't you dare fall now!" Together they fought back to back, step by step, forcing the squad toward the cavern's edge. But the leader remained. Taller, stronger, his armor thicker than the rest. He strode forward, blade glowing bright. "You cannot win," he growled. "You are broken, both of you." Solari's chest heaved with exhaustion, blood dripping down her side. David swayed on his feet, barely holding the pipe, yet neither stepped back. "Maybe," David rasped, "but we'll bleed together before we let you touch her." The leader lunged. His blade slashed down. Solari intercepted, steel ringing against steel. Sparks lit her silver eyes. She pushed back with a roar, her strength fueled by rage and love. David stumbled to her side, swinging his pipe at the leader's exposed arm. The strike cracked the armor, forcing him to step back. The soldiers hesitated, shocked that two broken fighters stood against them all. Solari lifted her weapon, her voice like thunder. "You wanted blood? Then take mine. But know this. So long as I stand, no hand will touch my child or the man who saved her." Her words echoed through the cavern, shaking even the enforcer's resolve. For the first time, they looked uncertain. The leader snarled, raising his blade again. But before he could strike, distant horns echoed through the tunnels. Reinforcements. More soldiers were coming, or perhaps allies. It was impossible to know. The squad faltered, torn between finishing the fight and retreating. Solari gripped David's arm, her voice urgent. "We must move. Now." David staggered, but nodded. Together they lifted Lyra and slipped toward a narrow exit at the back of the cavern. The leader's furious roar followed them. "This is not over. You cannot run forever." Solari glanced back once, her silver eyes burning. "Then let them chase. They will learn what it means to hunt a mother who has nothing left to lose." They vanished into the shadows of the tunnels, battered, bleeding, but alive. And though David's body was broken, his spirit burned stronger than ever. For the first time, he felt not like an outsider, but like part of something worth dying for. The tunnels grew narrower as Solari guided David and Lyra through the darkness. Every step echoed, and the smell of damp earth filled the air. David's body was nearly at its limit. His side burned, his breaths came shallow, but he pressed on, refusing to slow down. Solari kept one hand on the stone wall, the other gripping her daughter's arm. Her silver eyes glowed faintly, cutting through the shadows. Behind her calm face, her heart pounded. She had defied the council, defied the enforcers, and chosen the path of rebellion. There was no turning back now. Finally, the passage opened into the outside world. The night sky stretched above them, filled with countless stars. The ruined outskirts of the city lay before them, broken towers, abandoned homes, and the soft whisper of the river nearby. They stopped beneath a crumbled archway. For a moment, silence fell. The only sound was the river flowing and David's heavy breathing. Solari turned to him. "You cannot stay here. The enforcers will hunt you. They will not stop until your blood runs dry." David leaned against the stone, gripping the pipe like a crutch. His face was pale, but his eyes were steady. "I already knew that the moment I stepped into that alley. But if leaving means they find you, then I'll stay." Her jaw tightened. "You are a fool. One human cannot stand against an empire." David gave a weak smile. "Maybe not, but one human can stand for a child, and sometimes that's enough." Lyra stepped between them, clutching her doll tightly. Her voice was small but clear. "You're not just human. You're ours now. Your family." Solari froze. That word again. Family. It tore through the walls she had built over years of pain. She looked at David, bleeding, broken, yet unyielding. He was not her kind. He was not her blood, and yet he had become something more. They found shelter in an old ruin near the river. Solari built a small fire from broken wood. The flames painted shadows across their tired faces. David sat against the wall, Lyra curled beside him. She had fallen asleep, clutching his arm, as if letting go would mean losing him. Solari watched quietly, her heart caught between fear and gratitude. "You should not have stayed," she whispered finally. David's eyes met hers, heavy but firm. "And you should not have saved me. But here we are." For a long moment they sat in silence, the fire crackling between them. Finally Solari spoke again, her voice softer than before. "My people will call me a traitor. They will say I broke the code by trusting an outsider. Perhaps they are right. But when I saw you stand in blood for my daughter, I knew the code was already broken." David's lips curved faintly. "Maybe some codes are meant to be broken." Solari looked into the fire. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel something she had buried long ago. Hope. But hope was fragile. From the distance came the sound of horns. The council's forces were not far. They were sweeping the ruins, searching. Solari's eyes hardened. "They will not stop. Saving you tonight will only bring more soldiers tomorrow." David forced himself to sit straighter. "Then let them come. I won't run." She turned sharply toward him. "And if you die, what then? My daughter loses the one who bled for her." He shook his head slowly. "If I die, then she still learns something. That not all humans turn away, that some will fight, even when they have no reason to. That matters." Her chest tightened. He spoke not like an enemy, not even like a guest. He spoke like a father might, someone who had already claimed Lyra as his own. Solari's silver eyes softened. She reached across the fire, her hand resting on his. No, if you bleed again, it will not be alone. We bleed together now. David stared at her, words caught in his throat. Slowly, he nodded. The night passed in uneasy silence. By morning, the first light of dawn touched the ruins. Lyra stirred, yawning softly. She blinked at David and Solari, then smiled sleepily. Are we safe now? She asked. Solari brushed her hair gently. For now, but David shook his head. Safe? No, not yet. But we will be. He stood, though his body still trembled. He looked out at the horizon where the alien city rose in the distance, guarded by towers and walls. His eyes hardened. They want me gone. But if I run, they'll never stop. If I stay, maybe, just maybe, we can change something. Solari moved to his side, following his gaze. You think you can change them? That centuries of hate can be undone by one man's blood? David gave a faint, tired smile. Not by one man's blood, but by one man's choice. Lyra slipped between them, holding both their hands. Her small voice rose with quiet certainty. Then we'll do it together. We're family now, all of us. Solari felt her throat tighten. She looked at the child, then at David, then at the rising sun. And for the first time, she did not see him as an intruder. She saw him as something else. Keeper. Protector. A bond between two worlds. In the distance, horns echoed again. The council's hunt had not ended. It had only begun. Solari gripped David's hand tightly, her voice low but fierce. You bled for my daughter. Now I will fight the stars themselves to keep you. And together, the three of them stepped into the light of a new day. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as a family caught between two worlds. The story was far from over.